Welcome to Radiant Health, how to create health from the inside out. I'm your host, Lori Waka, and I'm so glad you're here today with us. I want to introduce you to my guest, Mark Kenyon. Mark is an IFBB professional bodybuilder, and he's also a computer geek. He is here today to share with us how you can transform your life through your goals. Mark, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I first always like to start with asking, what does radiant health mean to you?
Sure. Radiant health to me is something that I think other people see in you that they kind of notice, right? So as you make changes in your life and you're getting better and you're feeling more confident and changes are happening, people will kind of notice that and kind of ask what you're doing differently and how things are, because it definitely permeates all aspects of your life. And you'll just see it pop up in places that you don't expect.
That's true. That's a really good point. And I love how you said that other people can see it like radiating from you. And that's something that we haven't really talked about through in this summit yet, but it's such an important point, and it's true. I really believe it's true. Like, you can look at some people and they just radiate this spark
Yeah.
of life and kind of love and laughter, I guess. So thank you. I totally agree with that. And so, how would you say that Radiant Health has been a key to your success and to how you've grown?
Well, for me, I kind of accidentally got into it, if you will. I had, I was, so I'm a computer consultant by trade, and I had kind of a kind of awkward journey growing up and kind of learning about, who I was supposed to be and what I wanted to be when I grew up. Like, my job when I went to college didn't exist, so it's hard to study for something that doesn't exist. So it was an interesting journey to get where I was, right? And it was a lot of gut instincts and reactions to things as opposed to planning out where I wanted to go. But that led me down some interesting paths. Some of them not so great. My body definitely suffered, and like I just became. So I work in IT, so I always call it the IT shape. So you get paid to sit down and not stand up.
Mhm.
And you get someone else paying for your meals, so you eat too much and you drink too much and you just make bad decisions, and they multiply, right? And that happens, right? But it was having negative effects on the rest of my life. So
Okay.
I got a go ahead.
You got a what? I'm sorry.
I said I got a kind of an interesting opportunity. I was working out in California with a friend that was a Mormon and lived that lifestyle. So he was, and that was all new to me, right? So he didn't drink. We worked out twice a day. He ate healthy and clean and everything. And I mean, and that's probably the first time that I saw that radiant health. Like, it permeated. Like, he glowed with it, and you didn't really know what it was, but there was like this attraction to, just other people around him. Everybody, kind of permeated. You just want to kind of be near him and interact with them. So it was interesting. So
Yeah.
I started that journey there. And it was good. Like, it wasn't instant, right? I mean, it takes a while to get there, but it
Right.
was starting. And then I was like, all right, let's just play this out, see how it goes.
Cool. And you
And
were open to it, it sounds like, which
yeah,
is really key, I think. So
yeah,
I don't want to interrupt you, but
no, no, for sure. So that was kind of an interesting part. And then I started, because I'm very analytical, and I said, let's figure this out. Like, what do you want? Right. So, and I believe in this thing that basically you need to figure out what you want. You need to figure out what that price is, and then you need to pay the price. So, and those are kind of three steps that I went through, and honestly, it applies to so many areas of life. Um, and
yeah, I was
I,
just thinking that.
yeah. So where I applied it first was, kind of my physical body, like what I could do there. And honestly, the first step, figuring out what you want, is a little hard because there's a lot of options, right? Uh,
Hmm.
and you
Yes.
kind of have to weigh things out and figure it out. So it helped me to, you know, get like bodybuilding magazines and take a look like, do I want to look like this, or do I want to look like a professional runner? Or do I want to, where do I want to be? Um, and I ended up with kind of not the huge bodybuilder that's, mega massive, but kind of in between. I'm like, that's I think where I want to be. So I'm kind of smart, kind of driven. So I'm like, I think I can figure this out. So I started down that path, and the price was interesting, right? So it ended up being time. It
Okay.
ended up being like changes to diet, and then also just like the working out part, right? Which was probably the smallest portion, but it's the thing that everybody thinks about, right? Like, oh, you go to the gym, how much time do you spend in the gym? And um, there's, there's a lot of other stuff that comes in. The food part, that's the hard part.
Oh, I can imagine. And I just want to say that, thinking about goals, I've never heard it said like that, but yeah, that makes so much sense. When we do something, there is a payoff. There's a price and a payoff, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
Oh,
And kind of the part that was most interesting to me was that I kind of call it the ripple effect. But once I started to get some success and build up confidence, um, and confidence I'll touch on for just a second,
sure.
because early on in my career, I was always told you need to be more confident. And I was like, how do you just like turn that on? Like, I never quite understood how one just becomes more confident.
Right.
Um, but it was whenever I started to make other changes in my life and have successes that it spilled over. And then I had this kind of ripple effect in other areas of my life. So then suddenly I was a little bit better at work. I was a little bit better in my relationships. And I could just, that confidence kind of came in. And I was a little surprised, to be honest, because I was like, I've been looking for this switch all along. And, it was someplace I didn't expect.
Yeah, no, that's such a good point, because you can, when you're kind of in that state of being and not trying to force something or striving to be confident, it just sort of flows and comes naturally. Is that
Yeah, no, that's
accurate?
very true. Yeah. And yeah, you can't force these things to happen. They
Mhm.
happen, right? And I will say too that I did make adjustments to my goals. I think that's important, and I think it's important to go with your gut and kind of be. You don't want to be so stoic and rigid on everything you're trying to achieve. I I think you need to be vulnerable. You have to realize that we don't know everything that's around us and all the influences, and life happens in some pretty dramatic ways sometimes, and we have to adapt to that. Um, so you have to realize that, like, I may have to adjust some things here, and it'll be okay.
That's I think, yes, that's so important. And it's kind of like when you're setting goals, not only just make sure that they're attainable, because sometimes I think we set goals that are really perhaps a little above and beyond what we're ready for.
Yeah,
And
it's
so,
good to set that direction, but to feel failure if you don't hit something that's way out there. Like if I set my goal to become president of the United States, it's not something I'm going to achieve. So feeling failure all along the way isn't but being successful in politics or being successful in business, yes.
just so set yourself up for success.
Yeah.
So when you set those goals, are you setting them, and I don't know, I'm just wondering, like, is it kind of just little chunks at a time, or
Yeah, I prefer to do it a couple of different ways. So I prefer to do like a yearly. So I'll take a sabbatical, like a once a year hard look. And I do this with my career. I do it because after I figured out it worked with like bodybuilding stuff, I'm like, all right, well, let's see if this, and it does, right? So with my career, I go all in for a year, and and then I pick my head up and I'm like, okay, how am I doing? Am I on target with where I want to be? Right? Because things have changed. Am I still headed in the right direction? And you just make micro adjustments. Um, and I think it's it's important to understand that life changes and things happen along the way. COVID hits, there's just things you can't control. Um, Now, our reaction to those things we can control, and how we um, help others and make an impact to their world. Like these are things that pick us up, and it's a good thing.
Definitely. And that's a good point too. Like give yourself grace when there's things out of our control and that maybe we didn't quite meet a goal, but if we're, like you said, if we're going in that right direction,
Yeah,
that's that's what's going to keep that momentum going and keep us going, right?
yeah. So, and a lot of these goals are, I mean, they're pretty hard. I mean, they're hard to achieve. Like some of them, like the bodybuilding stuff. I was just like, well, let's see where it goes, right? I'm gonna put my all effort in, but bodybuilding, I don't know if you know, it's kind of like a beauty contest. So it's really difficult to be
Okay.
good at because you don't know who's going to show up. You don't know what the judge is going to think about you. They could be just like kind of leaning like, someone told them that, a certain person should look a different way. And then suddenly all the work you did is gone. So
Yeah.
it's hard. So you can't let that other person's opinion be the entire reason that you exist, because that can be devastating. And I don't want to put that kind of power in someone else's hands as well. So yeah,
I like how you put that. Don't want to put that kind of power in someone else's hands.
right.
That's so true. And we tend to do that if we're not aware. Like we tend to really worry and care about what other people
Hmm.
say, think, their judgments, their criticisms, and we
Yeah.
don't need to and we shouldn't, but it
Yeah.
just happens.
Like I've got my four, like my core group of people that, like, these are my truth tellers. These are the people that'll tell me when I'm off track and stuff like that, and these are the people I care about. um the rest of the world, I don't want to offend people. I want to help people, etc., but they don't mean as much as those four people. Those are the ones that that I need and keep me on my path. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great advice. And
Mm.
it's true. Our core people, those are the people that are going to give us the honest feedback. They're going to have our back. They're going to, um, you know, be there whether things are going great or things are going bad,
Yeah.
and they're going to be authentic with us, and that's so important.
Yeah. And it's important to be vulnerable with them as well, and to be able to share, and to be just like, I'm struggling here, I don't quite know what I'm doing, I'm going forward, but tell me if I'm off base here, and that helps, and it makes that relationship more genuine, and then you're able to help them as well. So
That's such a good point about those genuine, authentic relationships. Those really are the ones you can count on.
absolutely.
Um, and I wanna go back to, you were in IT, or
Yes.
and kind of bodybuilding sort of happened organically. It sounds like in a way, and well, I guess what I want to say is, like, for me, I'm still kind of figuring out my path. And interestingly enough, my background is in information systems management. So way back in the 90s,
Right.
I was in network management, which is like a whole other lifetime ago,
Right.
and I would know nothing about it right now. But I've done that. I've done personal training,
Mhm.
and I now have a skincare business. But I love that you were like open when you realized that this person in your life was radiating this health, and so you like, I feel like if we listen to our gut and our instincts, and it sounds like you kind of did with this person in your life, that we can almost sort of follow that next step, that next path. But we kind of need to be open to it or aware of it. Is that?
Yeah, no, that's very true. And I think it comes to, you have to be a little courageous, right? Because it's a little scary sometimes. Some of the things that you're You're like, because you get kind of trained out of it. As a child, you're more likely to listen to your gut and react to things kind of naturally.
Yes.
And then we kind of learn over time that, well, sometimes that doesn't work. And, your parents tell you this, and society teaches us, other things that impact us. And we need to kind of go back to that a little bit. Like, we need to hold a little bit of that, but we need to listen to that little kid inside of us as well.
I agree. Yeah, find that inner child that's in you, because I think that's where the magic is. You know,
Yeah. And it's that being courageous to, and I'll go back to, at, I've been reading a book, Dare to Lead, and it talks about the being, you need to be, in order to be courageous, you need to be vulnerable. And so, like, this is kind of an interesting thing because putting those two things together before, it had not really occurred to me. So, but it's really interesting to figure that out and to see how that materializes.
I really like that. And I'm just thinking about that in my head. Yeah, I don't think I've ever really thought of that, but it's true. It is
Yeah,
really true. And vulnerability will get you far, I think. It will,
yeah,
like,
absolutely.
allowing yourself to be vulnerable. And
Mhm.
because that's hard to do. That's like putting all the walls down, taking
Right?
off the masks,
Yeah.
and just putting yourself out there.
And having like real conversations that, can, it allows you, it's scary because now you have the opportunity to be hurt by it, right?
Yeah.
We don't like that. So, but that's the only way you can get through. With all that armor on, you're not going to have a genuine relationship. So, with those four people, I have to actively take off the armor and, let myself be true and, who I am.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about that. Yes. Even with your core people, it can be very scary and hard to take off that armor
Yeah,
and be
these are the people
vulnerable.
that, like, their opinions matter to you, right? These are
Yeah.
the people you want to see happy, that you want to be proud of you. Yeah, it's
Yep.
hard.
And you have to be willing to I guess be okay if you show them all the bad stuff,
Right.
and the thing is, those true core people, they're gonna love you no matter what.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, that's how you can let them in there, right?
Yeah,
Into the safe
that's
place.
true.
Yeah.
That is true. Um, I wanted to ask you for your goals. How do you, like, on a daily basis, practice goals and just working through your goals? Does that make sense?
It does. So, like with the bodybuilding stuff, I'll do kind of selfies and kind of, I try to do things that are objective so that I know, like, and I can look back over time and see, like, how am I doing? Because I have to constantly watch my body fat ratio and how that is. So I'll take measurements, I get scientific about it. And then when things start to slide, I don't want to beat myself up over it because that's not the right answer. The right answer is, what things do I need to change? So then I'll take an objective look at it and figure out, like, okay, I need to adjust my diet and just play with things a little bit because I'm very results oriented. I want to see what is going to make a difference. And so then I'll kind of play with my numbers and my diet. So I do a couple of different things. I've done, I'm currently doing intermittent fasting,
Okay.
is one of the tools that I use to kind of get, control my calorie intake, as well as increase things like my natural growth hormone and some other things that I can take advantage of, as long as I'm, so I have to do the research to figure out what these things are. But once you get there, then you're like, okay, let me try that, see how it feels. And I give it like a week or two because things don't happen instantly with our bodies, right?
Right.
Our body has a reaction to it. Sometimes it's negative and it's, your body's like, what the heck are you doing? This is, whenever you cut your calories too much and you're too low, then you're just like, okay, I'm dragging. What impact is that having on my work life, my social life? How am I doing? And
Yeah.
again, I look for cues from other people as well. Because, whenever you're dialed in, just like we were talking about with the radiant health, like when you've got it going and that flow is there and you're just like, you're on point, it, you don't have to try, and everybody seems to notice, right?
Yeah.
You just get, a little bit more feedback than normal. Um, so it's good. And it kind of like it gives you little affirmations along the way.
That's a good point. I don't think about that, but yeah, just like I know I can feel a difference on days, and there's some days I do feel like I'm, radiating health,
Yeah.
and then there's some days that I'm not feeling it so
Good.
much. And you're right, I can tell by the interactions I have, by just my own behavior as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah. And it's important to notice that, but not beat yourself up over it. Because if you get into the cycle of, kind of trying to beat yourself down over it, you're not going to get better. Like that's not the right path to getting back to where you want to. But just take an objective look and see where things are at. What changes have I made, negative or positive, um, and then lean towards the things that are positive.
I really like that, and I like how you said a little bit earlier about if if your ratios aren't exactly what you want them to be, um, you figure out what kind of slight shift you want to make or need to make, but you don't beat yourself over it,
Right.
because that's so important. I just feel like it could debilitate us if we don't, if we either don't hit our goal, or we've hit it and then we kind of lose it. And
Absolutely. Yeah. And we get all sorts of, I mean, there's negative chemical reactions with our body too, whenever we get into that state of mind that's where you're beating yourself up over it. And that's nothing we want. Your cortisol levels get up too high. Like everything goes wrong. The stress gets wrong. And then you have a tendency to make the problem worse because you're like, I feel bad. And then, well, food makes me feel good. And like, especially ice cream and peanut butter. Yep, that's good too. And you kind of go down this path and then you're just adding to the problem. So, and you got to break that cycle.
you're so right. That's such a timely comment for me, because I started a nice healthy eating plan January 1st,
Yeah.
and I've been able to lose 20 pounds from it, and so that I hit that about 3 weeks ago, and I've been able to maintain that for 3 weeks. So I've been doing really well on it. This particular eating plan works well for me. But St. Patrick's Day came, and I I said, I'm doing really well with this eating plan. I'm just gonna have a little, my daughter bakes a lot, and I've been able to not touch that stuff, even though it's delicious. But I decided, you know what, I'm gonna have some of her cookies. So I did. And that was Wednesday. And then Thursday happened. And Thursday I was gonna get right back on that saddle. And Thursday I was like, you know what, those cookies are really good. And so I may have had a couple more yesterday,
That's
but
fine. Yeah.
it's like I didn't beat myself up over it, but I know that, okay, I'm starting to sort of crave that sugar again. I need to, like,
Mhm.
just get wean myself off and just get back on my healthy eating plan, which again works for me. It doesn't feel, I don't crave anything. I don't feel like I'm missing out anything. So it's a really nice plan for me. But I'm somebody who likes sugar. So if I get it in my system, I'm gonna want it.
Yeah. And eating plans that make a change in your body are difficult. They just are. Like like whenever I'm giving a diet to somebody, or helping and coaching them through weight loss, especially if they want to achieve a lot in a short period of time, you have to understand that it's going to make an impact on you. Like it's not going to be pleasant. Like it's just there's no way to be pleasant and have your body go through a dramatic change like that. Because the diets are hard. I mean, they really are. And making a
Yeah,
change that to something that you need, like we need food, and
yeah,
you have to feed your body. So, and it craves sugar, it
yeah,
craves salt, it craves these things, right? And it just like you feel like you have to have it. So, yeah, it's difficult to do to make that change, but it's worth it too. Um, the part gets really frustrated is whenever you make these sacrifices and you're not seeing the results.
yes,
That that gets crushing, right? So it's very
absolutely.
difficult, and I think that's where having a coach or someone to guide you through it, because a lot of times they can see things that are outside of it where we get so micro focused on, okay, so you told me to watch calories, I'm watching my calories. Well, it could be that that your salt and your potassium are way off, and you're not able to get the the fat out of the cells that you need to, um, that you're starving yourself instead of starting to lose weight. Your body is having such a dramatic reaction.
Right.
So having a coach does help with that stuff. So just someone to objectively look at it, um, that's very knowledgeable in this area, helps a ton, a lot.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really really good point and good advice. Um,
And it's fine as long as you just realize, okay, I've got my goal. I'm gonna do everything I can to hit it, and this is part of the price I'm gonna pay. I'm
I was just going to say that's like that payoff and price you were talking about. The exactly, and I've never thought about that in terms of goals, but makes a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
so, in speaking of goals,
Yes.
what would you say would be an actionable step that our viewers could take in terms of whether it's goal setting or just something regarding goals that would help them?
Mhm. Well, I think it's important to realize kind of how you think. So, I've got a very good friend that she's very visual. So she creates vision boards, and that helps her get that goal in front of her, like on a daily basis. She can see the thing that she wants to achieve. Um, and then for me, I'm more auditory, so like hearing things, so speaking to it and like actually verbalizing my goals on a regular basis helps me. um, and then it just kind of where your cues are, lean towards that way. So how you naturally absorb information, feed that, like, and just kind of use that, because you're kind of built that way naturally. How do I continue to infuse that and get that? I want to make sure I've got this steady stream coming in of things that keep you motivated. So for me, the motivational speaks talks on YouTube and etc. Those help me a lot.
Okay.
Um, where the vision board, not so much, but we're all different.
That makes sense. And like, so you said, you're more, uh,
Auditory.
yes, thank you. So with that, do you like even give yourself daily affirmations? Is that something you do, or is it more just about watching the YouTube videos? That's in a way kind of a,
Yeah, I think it's the absorption of it for me. I do meditate and stuff like that, but that's mostly inside my head. So I don't know if that's like an inner voice, but yes, I mean, yeah,
I hear you.
because I want to make sure I'm focused on where I want to be. So yeah.
Okay, okay, thank you. And if anybody any of our viewers would like to talk to you some more about
Sure.
the way you do goals with your, uh, you didn't say, I think not payoffs, but what was the other
So you figure out the what you want them to buy, if you will. You figure out the cost.
cost? That was it.
Pay. Yes.
Thank you.
So
Because I really like that. I think that's a great way to
yeah.
and make it attainable for you, because if you're
Yeah.
willing to pay the cost for the
Hmm.
payoff,
Yep.
then you're most likely going to be more, you can set yourself up for success, I would think.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share your email
Sure.
in the email that goes out with this interview, and then that way anybody who would like to contact you and get in touch with you for maybe
Sure.
more information or talk with you.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
I know we're running close on time. Before we go, is there anything else that you would like to share, or maybe something I have forgotten?
No. The only thing I would just encourage people to do is to be vulnerable, and in that first step, whenever you're trying to figure out what your goals are, um, be realistic. Bring your small group of people that are your truth tellers. Bring those in and just say, this is what I'm thinking about. Can you affirm this? Do you think I'm off track here? And use that. Use those people to kind of get you, and that'll have a ripple effect as well, just because they're going to see the things you want to achieve, and I think they're going to be able to help you along that path as well.
Ah, what a great idea. And I know when we first started talking, you had talked about the ripple effect. And I,
Yeah, it's amazing to see in your life. So I think I started touching on it, but the so whenever you get that confidence from achieving a goal in one segment of your life, um, it has this permeating effect and this ripple that happens to other areas. And it's really amazing to see it happen. But you'll see it show up in corners of your life that you never expected. So
And that's what's really fun. And that makes it, like you said, that validates and just makes you want to keep doing whatever you're doing because it's working. And I
right,
think the more it works, the more you attract it to yourself.
exactly, you get in that habit of, kind of winning and achieving, right?
Yes.
And I kind of hesitate to use the word winning, but you're winning at life, right? You're not defeating anybody else. Yeah.
Right. I like that. Winning at life. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for
Right.
joining me today and sharing all of your knowledge and such great tips with goal setting and just goals that are attainable. And that's so important. And like you said, because you want to have those wins so that it keeps you going, keeps you motivated.
Yeah.
So thank you. And thank you to our viewers for joining us today. And I will see you back here tomorrow. Bye.
Thanks.